Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews, where an evangelical encounters the restoration. I'm your host, Stephen Peinecker, and I'm very excited about this guest, a guest that should have come on a long time ago, but circumstances conspired against us at times. But I'm so glad to have my good friend, honestly, I can tell you, my good friend Cheryl Bruno. Welcome finally to Mormon Book Reviews. How you doing today?
It's great to be here. I'm doing great.
So I've got we typically I would be hanging with you at MHA and Whitmer, but my current condition has kept me from doing that. But we talk on the phone, we stay in touch with each other. And actually, I think one of the greatest things that's happened to me since I've had my medical condition was I was so depressed and bummed that I was unable to attend all these conferences. And one of those was the Sunstone Conference. But turns out I did make an appearance at the Sunstone Conference. And we're
Yes.
going and we're going to talk about that because Cheryl, who of course just came out with her latest book, Come Up Hither to Zion, William Marks and the Mormon Concept of Gathering, co-written with John Dinger, and they're going to be coming on in the next couple of weeks to talk about this book. But you also took up a hobby around COVID time, wasn't that? Where you
I did.
okay, so a lot of
Yes.
people took on hobbies, did different things, and one of those was what? What was the hobby?
Mine is watercolor portraiture.
And this is what's so cool. You did this really cool series of portraits of prominent influencers within the Mormon studies community. And I couldn't believe it. There was like 20 of them, and you included me. So I felt like, wow, 3 years
Yay.
ago, I didn't know a single Latter-day Saint when I went to my first MHA. And now we're going to go over some of these beautiful paintings that you did. And folks, you're going to recognize just about every single one of these people. And it's really exciting. So before we do the slideshow presentation, just kind of tell us what got you decided into painting. Did you do other art stuff before, or just kind of talk a little bit about your history with like who takes up painting now, right? I mean, tell me what made you decide to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I always have kind of dabbled in painting, like ever
Yeah.
since I was very young, like a teenager. Um and I always did kind of acrylic um painting, and it was just easy stuff. Like here is an acrylic painting I did of a wave. An acrylic painting's just kind of easy because you can put, like, you see the white, it can go right over top of the green and cover up the green. And then I have, like, here's another one I did around 2019. Just a little, I mean, kind of, isn't that kind of cool? Doesn't it almost look 3D
Yeah, it
there?
does.
Because the acrylic's just very easy to use, and I just kind of see dabbing it on, and it ends up looking great. So I love acrylic. But I thought I'd challenge myself a little bit during the COVID. I thought, okay, let me try watercolor, because watercolor is very different because you have to use negative space. So you can't paint white over top of a dark color. You have to leave the space. So here's like one of the first ones I did during COVID, and I live in the Monterey area, so this is just kind of a seascape. And you can see I just wasn't very good at doing it yet. It's very rudimentary. The rocks, I don't have very good shadows here going on. So that was one of my first. And then this will show how you have to leave the negative space. Like, look at this flower right here. I had to leave all white and then color the dark ones around it. So see how hard that was? I just,
Oh,
colored this dark, and it doesn't look like it's, vegetation back there. It just looks like it's paint. So and again, just one of the early ones I did. And then I started getting a little bit better at my landscapes. So here's one of just, again, the Monterey Bay. And then there's one that's a little bit better. Um, and you can see I've got shadows coming in better now with the watercolors. And watercolor is really funny because it just has a mind of its own. And that's what I had to learn. You can't just put the watercolor down exactly where you want it, because it goes where it wants to go. And you have to just like work with it and let it do what it wants to do. So here is one of the, I think this is 2020, and I'm getting better here and just kind of letting the watercolor pool and just go where it wants to go, and it's a little looser. And see those, I'm pretty proud of those clouds, how that's looking there. So I started working with watercolor, but then I realized I think that landscapes, like I said, are pretty easy, like especially in the clouds, you just put down the blue and then you kind of dab it with a paper towel and it comes out clouds. But if you really want to know if you're good, can you draw a person, a face so that people can recognize who it is?
Yeah, and I didn't realize that that's a skill, and when I saw the when you posted those on Facebook, I was like, I pretty much like I thought, okay, I think that person. That's definitely Don Bradley. That's and it's like you could tell that some people were more recognizable than others. But then after I look at it, it's like, oh yeah, that is Benjamin Schaefer. But I just remember his beard's a little longer now. That kind of thing. But so yeah, explain why what how much trial and error did it take for you to start doing portraitures?
So I had never drawn like faces before. So I started with kind of an online tutorial where they taught how to let's see, they taught like proportions. I don't know if you can see these.
Oh yeah, okay, so proportions, yep.
And so you
Hmm.
draw, like these lines and so I learned how to do that. And I just, like I said, I have this book right here and it's just full of, me experimenting and working with these profiles and these faces right on. And I did that until, I mean, look, I have August 2022. And then I thought, well, let me start doing actual people. So I don't know if you can recognize who this is.
Oh, that's RFM.
So I was like, wow, I did a person and I think it looks recognizable. I think people could look at that and tell who that is. And it was really exciting. And so I did this one. Let me find, oh, let me show you this one. Maybe you know who this is.
That's John. Is that Johnny D?
It's John Dehlin. There's another one. Okay.
Oh, there we
So,
go. Yeah.
yeah. So I was just so excited. Um, where's the one I did? Let me see. I have to find it because there's a particular one I did. Well, here's like you have to do your eyes. You
Uh-huh.
did studies of eyes. I did studies of ears. I did, all this practicing. And where is it? Come on. Um, oh boy. I can't find it. This is really important to the story though, so I'm gonna have to find it.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Uh,
Track it down.
okay, I'm getting
Remind
there.
her this is her book that she wrote recently. I'll just do some plugging of your book while you're looking for it. Just
Yeah,
so,
okay. Do you
published
know
by
who
Greg Crawford Books. There we
do you know
go.
who that one is? Can you tell who that one is?
Oh, that's Patrick Mason.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So I mean I'm working on these people. Um and where is it? Gee, I don't know what happened to the
Just
one.
speak to while you're looking for that. Speak to what's the difference between drawing a portrait than been doing a watercolor? Because I imagine that's the way you describe it. It's a little more complex with the way the water goes and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, that was another thing because it is pretty easy to draw. Who's that?
Okay, wait. I'm trying to tell. I can't. Does it have a beard? Does he have a beard?
Yes.
It
Let's see.
kind of looks like Sean McCraney, but
It does look like Sean McCurdy, but it's David Bokovoy.
oh, David
I don't
McAvoy.
know if you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
always with his mouth open, right?
yeah.
So so I'm getting better here. And like you can tell because I'm having trouble finding this. I just did, over and over drawing. And before I even put any paint to any paper, I'm doing these pencil. And this is done in pencil. Um, I've actually bought some charcoal, but I haven't really tried my hand at charcoal yet. I've just done pencil. Um, and I filled this whole book. Okay, here it is. Okay. So I do this one
Oh,
right
wow.
here. Can you tell who that is?
Lindsay Hansen Park in the house.
Lindsay. So, I think that came out pretty good. And
Yeah,
it's hard to do people that are pretty, because they have even features and it's hard to make them look like, any different than just you know, like a generic. But I think that one looks like Lindsay pretty much. So I sent it to
absolutely.
Lindsay and said, look what I did. And she was really excited. So I sent her a couple more, like I sent her the one of RFM, and I sent her a couple and to see if she could recognize them, and she did. And so Lindsay said, Cheryl, why don't you do a display at Sunstone of your work? And
Wow.
so I thought, well, yeah, I would like to do that, but I don't want to really just display these pencil drawings because they wouldn't like stand out in a display. So I need to go ahead and start putting my watercolor together. Okay.
Okay, so when did you start doing your watercolors?
So that was about 2022.
Okay.
I started doing, and what I'd do first is I'd like sketch it on really lightly, and then I'd start adding the watercolor. And I learned a lot through this process.
Hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here
Yeah, I
because
love
I
it.
have some of my,
So these would be some of the paintings that you had on display at Sunstone. Is those
yes.
okay, great.
So here is my, okay, let's see, let's do the slideshow. Um, so here I am at Sunstone.
With
And you can see there I am standing there, and that's my display in behind me. And there is, you can recognize Sunstone there. So exciting to be there and have my art. Um, so they put a little, they did this big poster. This was huge, and it talks about me here. Um, and let me see if I can move this little thing here. Um, it says Cheryl Bruno, known for her contributions to Mormon studies, has ventured into a new artistic realm, watercolor portraiture. This collection, born out of the isolation and introspection of the pandemic lockdown, features a series of vibrant and expressive portraits of prominent figures in Mormon studies. Each piece captures the essence and character of its subject, reflecting Bruno's deep connection to her field and her artistic vision. Debuting at the Sunstone Symposium on August 1st, 2024, this collection offers a unique intersection of scholarship and art, inviting viewers to explore the faces and personalities behind those who have shaped Mormon studies in many mediums. Bruno's watercolors not only celebrate these individuals, but also highlight the dynamic nature of the field. Immerse yourself in this captivating series and witness how Cheryl L. Bruno transforms her academic passion into a stunning visual narrative.
wow.
So I'm pretty pleased with that.
Yeah.
That was just like exciting for me because um, I would never have thought I'd ever do an actual art exhibition, um, and this was amazing to me. So, I'm going to show the portraits in like no particular order of how I drew them. But this is one of the earlier ones. And remember, I told you that the pretty people are kind of hard to do. And if somebody has a real distinctive feature, this was easier to recognize. So, like, who is that? You can recognize this,
Tom
right?
Bradley. Yeah.
This is Don Bradley, right? So he's pretty easy to recognize because he has, the distinctive features, kind of a little crooked mouth and, sort of, a shaped, the nose has a really distinctive shape. And his hair, of course, is like very also distinctive and different than anyone else. So this is pretty easy to look at and see who it is.
Yeah.
So then let me go to the next one. Okay. So do you know who that is?
That's Ben.
It's Ben Park, right? So I'm going to show you this picture I drew. Actually, that was an early version of Ben, and
Uh-huh.
you can see how I've come along because, like, look at the nose, look at the line of the nose there, and how that's a hard line there, and it's sort of not as realistic over here. The nose is done, with shadows,
Mhm.
and I think I've gotten a little bit better in the mouth too. Look at the mouth, how they're different, and the second mouth just looks a lot more realistic. Now I did actually go back, and this one with the brick wall behind it, after I'd gotten a little bit better, I went back and added a little bit, like the ear, did a little bit more to the ear, and fixed it up a little bit. So it looked worse when it first started out, but again, there you can see that it's recognizable as a person, right?
Certainly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was really surprised. And like you look at the kind of the watercolor doing what it wants to do, like in the forehead. I kind of put it down, but it it really just goes where it wants to go. And it isn't always the color that you put in there, right?
Mhm.
So here is who do you think
Oh,
that is?
that's oh, I know. Oh, wait. Oh my goodness. I know who it is. I know who it is. I just no. I know who it is. It's killing me. Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's killing
Okay,
me. Yeah.
there he is. This is Mike Marquardt.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yes. So
I don't know
I
why.
know, and you might have to help me out later because I might forget some of the names myself.
Yeah, yeah. I might too. Yeah. So yeah, Mike,
So,
yeah, that's great.
eh,
Yeah. He often likes to
so
wear like goofy sunglasses when he's at conferences, like with the really bold
yes,
rims too.
uh, yeah. Everybody at the exhibit they loved this little glasses case that he had in his pocket. So
Yep.
that
That's
was fun. That
trademark.
just Yeah, it is. So, around this time that I was painting him, I learned this technique of that, especially in men, when you look at the coloration, it's like more yellow up here in the forehead, and then it gets red kind of down in the cheeks and nose area, and then it gets blue down kind of near the chin, and you can really see those, as you're doing and it was hard for me to see at first the different colors, but if you look at his real picture, you see it's lighter, much lighter up here, the forehead, bluer down here. And the shirt is blue, and it's kind of like it reflects up on his chin and his neck. So in watercolor, you just emphasize those things a little bit more, and they really make a difference when you're doing your flesh tones.
Cool.
So then this is, do you know who this is?
It's our favorite member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with a capital D and no hyphen, John Hychek.
Right, right. So I'm so excited that you're recognizing these. This is John Hychek. There's another picture of him. And um, So with this one, I'm experimenting with different colors because we don't generally see greens in somebody's face. But sometimes like if you look at over the picture here on the right of his actual face, it's just some sort of yellows and greenish tones. So that's why I tried putting in these different tones to see how that would work, and it worked well. I didn't think that it didn't make it look any less realistic to add these different tones in. And then I also learned that, the whites of your eyes, which I was painting like completely white, they are almost never white when you look at the eye. They're sometimes pink, they're sometimes gray. And so to give them a little color makes them more realistic. So I'm getting these eyes a little bit more realistic as I go along.
Yeah, it's yeah, and that's a good job. Yep.
And one thing that you can also tell, though, as you look at my paintings, is that you can tell the early ones, the clothing is not as well done. And as I go further on, I get better at the clothing. So like this one doesn't have great clothing, but I really am happy with the shading in this face. And then you see kind of the eye, it's got a little red there in the eye.
Hmm.
And again, I have the yellower tones up top and the bluer tones down the bottom. So do you know who that is?
Oh, it's John DeLynn. Yeah.
Good. So there he is. And this is actually many times I took in, just the actual photograph and did, copied it exactly. And this is one that I did pretty much exactly over into, and my proportions aren't perfectly correct, but I think enough to really get his personality.
Mhm. Yep. Certainly.
So then, do you know who this one is?
Oh, see now this one I didn't get a good look at because you didn't post this. Hold on. I was wondering about this painting because I just saw it in the broad shot. I didn't see a single shot of it. Okay, so it looks like we got a Joseph Smith picture, photograph in the background there. Okay.
Mhm.
So now let's think here.
So that's our hint. So this is the new daguerreotype of Joseph that they think is Joseph Smith, the a daguerreotype of Joseph
Oh, oh,
Smith.
oh, oh, I know who this is. This is Lachlan Mackay.
Yes, it is. And he's the one that speaks about this daguerreotype. And I don't have a very good picture of him there. Um, but you can tell kind of it captures his personality a little bit. But so now I was thinking because I don't know if you know, but I don't agree that this daguerreotype is Joseph Smith.
Right. So
And I know others do.
yeah, I lean towards it being him. But I know that there's a lot of well-respected scholars, including yourself and Brett Metcalf and others, that are highly skeptical of it. So I definitely think the jury is still out in many ways. Yeah.
Right. So, one of the reasons I don't think it's Joseph Smith is because, um, and everyone will say this doesn't look like their conception of Joseph Smith. And the reason why is because we have some portraits that were done during Joseph Smith's lifetime of him. And I was thinking about this because I'm doing portraiture here. Like, if you would look at some of my portraits, and line them up exactly and draw little blue lines to see if their nose is proportional. Mine are not proportional whatsoever. The eyes are they're too far apart or too close together, the nose is too big or too small. It's not, it doesn't line up at all. And so if you were to take um a certain person like Don Bradley or whatever and try to line up his photo with my picture, it would not work, right? But there's something recognizable, even though I'm not a very good portrait painter and I'm not professional. You can still kind of see that likeness, right? And this picture, I do not think has a likeness at all to the paintings. And so that's a problem for me. And so it's not the only reason why I don't believe it's the daguerreotype, but it's I think one of the big
Well, I
things.
think you need to just spend another 6 hours with Curtis Weber, and he'll
Oh my gosh, yes. You know what? I did spend 6 hours with Curtis Weber one evening until like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I am not lying, it was 6 hours.
Yeah,
And he
that's
went
why I
over
said that. You
and
told
he
me
was
that.
very convincing. Yes, he was extremely convincing. But I still have reservations, so he hasn't quite.
And just for the audience to know, Lachlan Mackay is actually a direct descendant of Joseph Smith. He's an apostle in the Community of Christ, and he is with the Church Historian's Office at the Community of Christ as well. And he was the one that co-authored the paper a couple years ago when it was released in the journal, the John Whitmer Historical Journal. So that just give people some background on that too. And I interviewed him. As a matter of fact, the very first person to interview Lachlan was me the day after it was released. So
Yes, I remember that. You broke the news.
that was a big deal then.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still a pretty big deal, and people are still working on it. So,
Yeah. Yep.
um,
We'll be doing some more stuff about it on the channel shortly as well. So,
yeah, and Don Bradley's working on it. And I mean, are you going to talk to Don about it
oh yeah,
too?
Don's.
Yeah.
I've been
So
talking to Don about it. Yep. So cool.
there's a lot of stuff going on with this daguerreotype, but that's just interesting to me as I've been working with portraiture to think about these things.
Certainly. Yep.
So
Right. Good insight there. Oh,
I do.
there's our girl. As a matter of fact, I just was talking with her and Chris the other day on the speakerphone. That's Christine Blythe.
Right. She's the executive director of MHA.
Yep.
So here she is. And you can see this is one of my early ones because look at the shirt. It's just like
Oh, it's very simple.
gray. It's
Yeah.
very simple. But I kind of like how the eyes came out in this one. And it kind of gives you her mouth just kind of gives if you know Christine well, I think this really gives the real feel of Christine. So I like this one quite a bit. And this is I sold 3 of the paintings while I was at Sunstone.
Oh.
And this was one of the ones. Chris bought it and called it the portrait of divine hotness.
I love it. That's great.
So I don't know. I can agree with that. She's pretty good looking here. And then we have,
Well, that's the hubby right there.
there's the hubby. There's Chris.
And let me take a guess. That one wasn't one of the paintings that was sold, right?
Yes, I did. She bought this one, so we had both of them were bought. So
Oh, okay,
so both
great.
of the Blythes pictures, and I like this one quite a bit too because I really like how the background came out there.
Yeah.
So and I also love how I've got the blue kind of 5 o'clock shadow going on there. I love it how it came out. So this is one of my favorite ones. I really like.
Yeah,
Um,
it's good. It's a good one.
so again, if the watercolor is so different, if I was doing it in acrylic, I would have been able to take this little tie here and make all those little white dots on top of the purple and, just put in, highlights. So you see, like, look at the highlight on the nose. I had to leave that light and kind of paint the shadows around it. I couldn't just
Mhm.
paint the lighter parts on top. So that's
I
really
see.
hard
Yeah, I can
um,
imagine. Yeah.
to do. So
And
you have
just while
to.
we're talking about this, how long does it typically take for you to do a portrait, typically?
So, I should have put one up here of just like the first day. So, like the first day, I'll maybe just do the first wash, and it'll
Mhm.
look terrible because it'll be like maybe just the light green in the background and just kind of maybe a pink on the face. And then you have to let it dry
Mhm.
because watercolors like that. If you don't let it dry and you try to put, these shadows in, they'll just go everywhere. And
Okay.
sometimes you want them to kind of go everywhere. Um, so usually on my second layer, I do some different colors so they do kind of blend. Um, so that's probably usually like the next day I'll do the second layer and then I'll work on it for probably a week. And then I put it away. Because I find, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems to me like when you come back after a week, it's all kind of blended into the paper and it looks different after a week. And
Okay.
it looks better.
Oh, so you put it
So
to the side for the week, and then you then go back to it.
you go back to it and you go like, oh, that's not so bad. But
Okay.
then, there's things that you can add, in the ear or more shadows or, different things that you see that you're missing. A lot of times I'll add a little, and I use what's called gouache sometimes to make the little highlight in the eye. But he doesn't have one here, but I'll show you in another one. So it takes about 2 weeks for me to do these.
Okay.
And they're simple, and I think that people that actually do this for a living may take longer, with their portraits.
Interesting.
But I take about 2 weeks to do each one. And also like to work on several at a time. Like if I'm working on 3 at a time, I can do like the first layer on this one, the first layer on this one, the first layer on that one, and then it gives me more to do than yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, they're good. Good.
Okay, do you know who this one is?
My one of my favorite sex therapists in the world, Natasha Helfman.
Yes, this is Natasha, and this is the last one that I did sell, and her mom bought this one. I just thought that was wonderful. And I think this one is also one of my early ones because look at this shirt there. But I think it really captured the look of her, her little smile and just kind of the twinkle in her eye, that she has always, she always just has a twinkle in her eye and kind of her unruly hair, So I really like this. This is one of my favorite ones.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yep. That's great. Love it. Oh, and there's
So
our guy, Radio Free Mormon in the house wearing his superhero t-shirts that he's
yes, I had to do a superhero t-shirt with this one. And I think I'm getting a little bit better here on the clothes because I'm not just like writing straight out, letters here. They're kind of, wrinkly in the shirt, and everything. So I'm getting that a little bit. Here you see some use of gouache in the eye there. There's a little white highlight in the eye, and then I did some in the hair too. Um, So that is something you can do in watercolor if you just need to add a highlight. You can't just put white watercolor in because it'll just blend in and make, you know, like a gray. But if you want the actual white, you have to use something that's more opaque. And so in this one, I did use the gouache. So there he is with his Marvel t-shirt.
Oh, that's great. And that took some work to do on that t-shirt there too, so
Yeah.
getting a
And
better set of your hand, and it's great. I love
I
it.
didn't do it exactly like it is in the picture, but it gives the same
Yeah.
effect. So yeah.
Did RFM was RFM uh, at uh, at Sunstone this year?
I think
Did he see the
so.
painting?
I don't know. A lot of
Okay.
people didn't see the paintings. They were kind of like at one end of the room, and so
Oh,
um
okay.
a lot of people didn't end up seeing their painting. But like Natasha it was so fun when Natasha saw that her painting was up there. She, like you, she was really excited that she was part of the group of the in people that
It to me it is
paint.
an honor.
I
Yeah.
don't know, it was really no rhyme or reason of who I painted. I just kind of, one day decided to, and so do you know who this one is?
That would be the compiler of the second volume, the first and second volumes of Writing Mormon History.
Yes,
And
that is Joe Geisner.
yep, yep, there he is.
Yeah. And this is one where if you see the hair there, that's where I had to leave the negative space. That's not gouache. His beard and his hair are all using negative space. And the light parts of his face, are the first layer that went down, and then I had to keep putting the shadows just on top of each other. And so I love the shirt. He has this golf shirt that looks exactly like this, and the little glasses. So you can see I did a much better job on the clothing here.
Oh yeah, and you're
So
getting more detail in the face, and the shirt is like pops, and you got the sunglasses there. It's a nice touch. Yeah, it's you can tell you can just see the evolution, of your painting style, get better and better, and more complex.
So I also did a lot of looking around online too to see, and it's amazing what you can find on YouTube. My kids had to teach me this a few years ago that anything I want to do, I can just look it up on YouTube. Do I want to knit? Oh, look it up on YouTube. It'll teach you how. And so when I was wondering like how can I do backgrounds so that they'll look, cool, then I learned these techniques from YouTube. So
Yeah. That is so true. I've been taught a lot of things from YouTube too, and I'm a visual person. I like to see videos. I don't want to read instructions. I like to actually see it. Makes it a lot easier for me to follow along.
okay, do you know who this is?
I do, but her name. Hold on. Community of Christ.
Yes, this
Uh,
is a
she's
Salt
the
Lake
pastor.
pastor
She's the
of the
pastor of the
Community of Christ, and
Community of
her
Christ.
name is Brittany Mangelson.
Yes, Brittany Mangelson. That's right. Yep. Yeah.
So, this one I did like right before I went to Sunstone, and so there's some things I feel like are unfinished about it. Like I want to put some more highlights in the glasses. I didn't do much work on the clothing on this one. So I feel like this one's sort of unfinished, but
Well, I
anyway.
think it looks really sharp myself.
But
Thinking,
you can still see that personality, right?
yeah,
I
you can,
think that's
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So now we got Community of Christ people, we've got Mormons, we've got, I mean, you name it. It's just this
Very
great
nice. Yes.
cacophony of
So,
different
the
people.
interesting thing also about watercolor is for my acrylics, if I mess something up, like I can totally just paint over it. Like if I don't like that eye, I can just paint right over the eye and start all over again with acrylic, and fix the mistakes. But on these, you can't really fix mistakes too much. There's certain things you can do. Like I could maybe tone down the orange forehead a little bit. I think that's maybe just a little too orange up there. I could do that. And I can pick up some of the paint sometimes, but it's just really hard to, um, change a lot in watercolor once you've got it down.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
so it's not as forgiving. Oh, there we go. That's the one you were talking about a minute ago.
Yeah, yeah. What actually I call him the Ogden Kraut of the 21st century. Benjamin Schaefer in the house, my good friend, and he actually
There he
literally was in
is.
my house last year. So yeah, that's him.
So Ben, and this is maybe just a little bit younger than what we know him now. But I had a friend, she was an older lady in her 80s, and she was a painter, and she used to tell me that what you need to do with your paintings is you need to go back and you need to look and say, what do I like about this painting? And sometimes it'll just be like the top right corner or something, I really like that. And so she taught me how to do that instead of saying, well, this one's not very good, or this one's not very, because that's my temptation to do that, right? To say, oh, this one's not. So this is in particular one that I don't feel is all that good, you know. But the thing is, I like the expression in the eyes because I think that's how Ben looks.
Hmm.
So, like, look at his eyes. You
Yep.
know, I mean, he's always looking very enthusiastic
Yeah.
and very attentive, and his eyes are just have a certain feel to them.
No, you're
And
absolutely. He has very expressive eyes. I think that'd be the best way to put it. And it is
yeah,
definitely it's definitely something that is recognizable immediately about Benjamin. Yeah.
so I think if I hadn't gotten the eyes quite right, you might not be able to tell who that is, but I feel like I really
Yeah,
like
because I
it.
struggled with this one at first. I wasn't quite sure. And then as I looked at it more and more, I because to me, he's got a fuller beard now.
Yes, and
That's what
he's
threw
like
me off.
several years. This picture is several years younger than what he is today.
Yep.
So yeah, it's maybe hard to recognize, but the eyes, you can tell that's him. So
Definitely. Oh no.
who is that? So here's another kind of experimenting with shadows because I really the YouTube was telling me that I really need to work on shadows. It's like if you see my face right now up in the corner, um you can't really see like all the shadows that are there. Everybody has a lot of different, and if I took a light and if I shone the light like a bright light down here, those shadows would come in more and
Mhm.
I'd be able to do a little bit better painting. And so they were talking about how to work on the shadows. And so I was just kind of experimenting here with the shadows. And I didn't think I got it quite right because when you have the light maybe coming a little bit here from the right, um, you have I like this shadow, this kind of dark shadow along the side of the face,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure if I like the like under the lip and under the nose, and so you know. But I think that this is a very recognizable picture, and
Mhm.
I like the eyebrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that eyebrow because I feel like you kind of have these unique eyebrows that are sort of different than anyone else. And this is one of the ones also that's not real proportional, right? The eyes I feel like are a little bit too far apart.
Yeah.
The nose is too long, but you can still tell who that is.
Oh yeah. Now I'm just curious because this is your only painting with a hat. Well, was there any challenges painting the hat?
Uh, Not too much. Not too bad. Yeah, the hat wasn't too hard to do. But so you have to like if you're doing this hat, you need to get that shadow right underneath or else
Yeah.
it's going to look like it's just like propped up on top of the head and it's not really sitting there. So I had to, come in with a shadow under there. And that's I think maybe why I'm like in this picture in the photograph, you can see that that brim of the hat is causing a little bit of shadow on the face.
Hmm.
So I did have shadows to work with, but I don't know that I quite got them right. But anyway, it's
Well,
it's
I have to
fun.
say, I like the painting. I also think, also too, what makes the painting interesting too is that I'm wearing like a reddish pink shirt, got a green bill underneath a black and hat with blue lettering, so that you had a lot of different colors to work
It's
with there too.
colorful. It's a very colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've kind of brought those blues and greens in the background too. So I
And
think the color of the background is important because I have done some where it's just the wrong color in the background does not look good. So
just how long ago did you paint this painting?
probably end of 2023 maybe.
Okay. Wow,
So
that's cool. Yeah, well, thanks again. That was like what a huge honor for you to do that. It did make my day. It made my week. It made my month.
oh, and you were at Sunstone. That was
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
Okay, so then I don't know if you know who this is.
Um, well, wait, I was it's is it it's not is it it's this isn't Bryce Blankenagel, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
That is
okay, yeah.
Bryce, that is Bryce Blankenagel. And this probably looks less like him than many of them. He's got interesting eyes because they're very light eyes with no like visible lashes. But he does have they're set back deep enough so that there's shadow in there. So they're kind of hard to do. But the thing I love about this one is the forehead and the hairline.
Hmm.
I love how that came out because it kind of gives the impression of going back, you know, like depth, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not sure I always get depth in my pictures, so I really like how the forehead came out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was the color going where it wanted to go.
Ah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
What did Bryce think of the painting? It looks like
He
he's got a big
liked
smile on his
it.
face.
He liked it, yeah. So,
That's great.
um, okay. So
Now,
this one,
this is a really stunning painting because when I first saw it, I was thinking, what was she going for? And then I realized this, to me, seems to indicate the torment of when they sold the Kirtland Temple. And I remember when he posted this photograph the day of or the day after it all happened, and it was a powerful photograph, and I thought you captured it beautifully in this watercolor. And I immediately knew what you were doing as soon as I could figure it out. Because like, why does she have him looking that way? And I was like, oh, of course.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
I wanted to capture that sadness. This is an amazing photograph here.
Yep.
He really just looks so sad, and you can just feel that feeling that he has as you're looking at the photograph. And so I wanted to get that, and I don't feel like I necessarily captured it very well. But I this is one that some of them I've done over and over several times, and this was one that I actually did closer to the time of Sunstone, so I didn't get a chance to do like 3 or 4 different tries, like
Mhm.
I some of them I do. So I think I can get better at this, but that's what I was going for, just that sadness and, you
No,
know,
I immediately recognized it. Like once it clicked, I was like, oh yeah, this is right after Kirtland sale, and
and
I do think you captured it, the pain and the emotion. It's a very it's even kind of a haunting picture, just it's sad, it's brooding, it's yeah, you can really read his face so well. Like I said, I knew what you were doing right away, and it's really I think it's a really stunning piece, Cheryl.
thank you. Um, okay, this is one of my favorites too. I have several favorites. Do you know who that is?
That would be a person who's an expert in the topic of polygamy, Todd.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, that's Ted Compton. And I really like this the shadows, you know, came out so well. And look at his little mouth, the little shape of his mouth. I mean, I think that's what makes it look like Ted Compton is just kind of the shape of his mouth. And look at the blue shirt. I'm especially proud of that blue shirt. I think
Yeah,
I did a
you're able
good
to
job
paint.
on that. So,
Well,
because I mean, you can see like the shadows and the wrinkles and stuff
yeah.
like that. I really like it.
Well, you got the sport coat, you got the shadows, and you got a little bit of the undershirt peeking out under the dress shirt. So that's
Uh,
a lot going on there.
yeah, so I think this one came out good. Um, and ears are always hard to do. So that's you know it's like and
What
like
did you
the
say? What's
wrinkles
hard to
around
do?
the
I didn't catch
eyes
that.
came out good. You know, he has kind of a shaped. The face looks shaped. It doesn't just look flat. So I like this one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I think this is kind of my favorite one. I actually am putting up an early version of it before I did the clothes because I think I messed it up when I put the clothes on. So I liked it just at this stage. So see, sometimes I'll put the clothes in later and I just work on the face. And this one I don't like. It was like a plaid shirt, and I didn't do a very good job with the plaid shirt. But I love this expression on this face. So do you know who that is?
That would be a person who was very instrumental in the Joseph Smith Papers project, Robin Jensen.
You're 100%. You got them all right. This is fabulous. So I think that he has sometimes he has this expression on his face, like this really serious um like little expression on his face, and he has these blue eyes that I think came out pretty good. So I really like this one. I just didn't like how I did the clothes, but oh, and look at, like, this is one thing I learned on YouTube too. So if you look at the glasses over here on this side, you can see how the face, like the glasses distort part of the face there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see how that is? And you
Yep.
can see it a little bit over here in the photograph
Yeah.
where, it's kind of distorted there. And then over here, I made that distortion. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of makes the glasses look.
Was it a challenge painting glasses around the eyes?
Yes, yes, it is. I should have gotten, I did a good job on, I did like a little small painting of Dan Vogel that I didn't bring with me, but that's one of the places where I think I got the glasses really good. Um, and I haven't worked too much on glasses. I think I also got John DeLynne's glasses pretty good. Let's go back and look at John. I think that's the one I got the glasses the best.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I still don't have, because it's a little, you have to do the glasses so that the underneath of the glasses are a little bit different shade than, on the other side. And so there's a lot that goes into glasses that I still haven't kind of mastered. But yeah, they're hard. They're hard to do.
That's great. Was there anything else you wanted to show on the screen share, or is that
No, that's we're done with the screen now.
okay? Well, it's great. Well, first of all, that I again, it really meant a lot to me. But was it also, not only were you looking for like prominent influencers in the Mormon studies field, but also interesting faces to paint? Was that
Mhm.
also a
Yeah.
qualification?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I need to go back because I did not finish. I had one more.
Okay, yeah,
Can I share again? Let me go back. Um, sorry.
no problem.
Okay, let's share that again. All right. So you can see that, right?
Yep. You're up.
Okay. All right. So now go back to, and I forgot like the most important part, so we don't want to do this. Okay, John, Todd. Okay, so look, this is the one we missed.
Oh
So
yeah.
now we're back to Lindsay because I did then do Lindsay in color. So there she is. And remember how I told you a pretty face is hard to do? So I did several of Lindsay and I didn't feel like I captured her very good. This one, I think I did.
Yeah.
She's got the little, eyebrow, the little tent shaped eyebrows, and kind of the mouth and the little round nose. And so I think and this is one of the ones I did recently. So I think the shadows are fun on this one and the hair. So yeah, I just,
That's yeah. It's a stunning portrait, I think, and it really brings out the. I love what you did with the hair, the flowing of the hair. The eyes are piercing.
yeah, she has those bright blue eyes, those light blue eyes that really do pierce.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's an awesome painting. Good job, Cheryl Bruno. My
yeah,
goodness.
we had to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotta save the best
Good
for
Miss
last.
Lindsay.
So like I asked before, it was like, so you were looking for prominent people, but also you were looking for interesting faces. Is that what I imagine that you would be like, oh, that's an interesting
Yeah.
looking face. I'm going to paint that.
Especially like Don Bradley really wanted to do because he does have an interesting face. And several, I thought Joe Geisner has a very interesting face as well. And um, I think John Hychek is very good looking, so I had to do him. So yes, I don't know. There really just no rhyme or reason of who I did, but just I don't know.
What?
It just as the spirit struck me.
Yes,
And
and
there
that
are others that I'm kind of in the middle of doing that I'm still doing like pencil sketches of, and I feel like I need to do like several pencil sketches of somebody before I start doing the watercolor. And so I've done like Moroni Jessup and he's
that would
got
be a
a
good one. He's got an
yeah, he's
interesting face.
got an interesting face. So yeah.
Well, did you have people come up to you and say, "Hey, why didn't you do you did a painting of Pinecker and you didn't do a painting of me?" I mean, did you have everybody upset that they weren't included?
Nobody said anything. So I don't know. They didn't actually say anything, but
But overall, was it a positive response you got from
yes,
people?
I think people enjoyed trying like guessing who everybody was, and that was fun. And generally, if they couldn't guess who it was, it's because they didn't know the person.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. So, well, that was a great just an expedition that we were able to share with our audience here at Mormon Book Reviews, and just the different faces, people, the different expressions, if you will, within the restoration. You really covered a lot of different. I guess you could say I'm the token evangelical in the group, and so that's fun. And again, it just was it really to me it did mean a lot to me that you did this, and I want to honor you, Cheryl, for the great work that you've been doing as a historian, as a scholar, and also as an artist. Thank you so much.
thanks. And you know what? I gotta say this. Just these people will know what I'm talking about here. But like when you get into a field of study or some interest that you have, you don't always start out knowing everything and being a professional, right? And we see this in Mormon history. And I didn't start out in Mormon history either being a professional. I was just a blogger, and I had an interest in history. And so I had a lot of mentors along the way to help me out. And I think that it behooves us to be like patient with somebody and encourage them. And I think that, actually have another painting project that I would like to do in the future I would like to do some of the early figures in the restoration. I have already done James Strang and Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, some of the early Joseph Smith III. I'd really like to do some of those as well. So I'm really coming along. I'm still just not real good, but when somebody encourages me and says, keep at it or gives me suggestions, I always take those to heart. And I think that's wonderful. So I hope that we do the same thing with people that are just entering the field of Mormon studies, because I see a lot of this lately. It's easy to enter into the field of Mormon studies because now we have scans of documents that you can just go online and see. It's not like back in the day I had to go to dusty archives and spend a lot of money to fly to Illinois and that kind of thing. And now it's very easy to go and look at the documents. However, without a lot of training, sometimes, you can kind of step in it or kind of maybe not make conclusions that others will agree with, but it's helpful who have more expertise and who have been published and consider ourselves more expert, take those people seriously and give them a little help, step up and listen to what they have to say. I think that's really helpful instead of just telling them they don't have anything meaningful to contribute.
Mm. And you want to pay it forward because people mentored you, and you want to be able to mentor other people. And
Exactly.
so, and yeah, and I want to encourage you to keep going. Honestly, when you started saying about doing, of course, yeah, doing the early restorate people of the restoration. I mean, Sydney Rigdon, I'd love to see you do that one. That would be great.
Yes, yes, wouldn't that
All
be
the
fun?
different, all the different ones that are out there, and yeah, no, that would be really cool to do. So maybe is that a preview of next year's uh
Maybe,
gallery?
maybe. Uh,
Well, I did also want to ask, people might inquire about how they could, I didn't ask you this beforehand, but people might inquire about how they can actually get some of these paintings. Is there something you could leave, like an email address or something, if somebody wanted to contact you, or do you have a website?
Yes, and I would be glad to if somebody wants me to paint their picture. I would love to do that. And I'm charging $40 at the moment since I'm not famous yet, but it may go up in the future. Who knows?
Well, I think
So,
I'm thinking well, hey, it's my birthday on September 9th. I share the same birthday with President Nelson. So if somebody wants to buy me a birthday present, buy me my portrait and send it to me.
go, there you go. And I have, Venmo and PayPal and stuff. So it's very easy. I can ship that, those pictures. Anybody who wants to buy the pictures that have previewed here, or if you would like to commission one, then I'd be glad to do that. It would be fun.
That's fantastic. Okay, so make sure you send me whatever links that I can put in the description so people can contact you, Cheryl,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then we'll take care of that. So,
Steve, I think you have my email. You can just put that up there.
okay,
So
great. So we'll have Cheryl's email in the description, and then if you want, if you're then you just contact her directly. So, folks, I'd love to hear your comments. What did you think of the paintings? Were you able to guess all the people? How many did you recognize? And did you learn something about art? And I learned a lot today about the process and how difficult it is to do watercolors. I hopefully it was helpful to those of you who are thinking of taking up a hobby or something like painting. This would maybe be instructive to you. Cheryl, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today.
thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yes, I told you before, and we're gonna have fun today, and that's what we did.
Yes, we did
Sometimes
have fun.
you know how it is, Cheryl, when you got all of the stuff going on, you just sometimes need to take a break and have some fun and talk with your friends. And that's what we did today. And it was a lovely time. So, well,
Thank
folks,
you.
comments in there. For those of you who'd like to financially support Mormon Book Reviews, we do have our website, where mormonbookreviews.com, where you can buy merch from our merch store, as well as those of you who'd like to financially support us on Patreon, PayPal, and Venmo. Couldn't do it without you, without the people, my supporters. So I want to thank you so much for your financial contributions. And remember, the most important thing is this: all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.